All right, this is the result of hiring the cheap guy the first time. We were here 2 years after they got a brand new roof because this section has been leaking ever since. We're standing on like a 3-4-12 and it goes down to a 112, and the prior guys just put ice and water and shingled this thing away. And you can tell by just like looking at these nails, they're 2 years old and they're just all rusted because they've been seeing water. As we're ripping up all these shingles, they're soaked on the bottom. It's because shingles are not meant to be on anything less than really a 312. You can get away with them on a 212 with some other special things that you got to do, but anything less than a 312, no shingles. All right, so yeah, we're here ripping this all up, and we're gonna do a really cool project on this to get a lot of ice buildup. So we're ripping it off. Dump trailer is right there. Very minimal mess on this job. And then we're actually gonna fur it up, and I'll show you what that progress looks like. But we're gonna build an 1.5 inch like a cold roof system. So a spot for it to ventilate, and we're gonna cut back into here so it ventilates out the ridge vent as well, but also add a little insulation in there, just add some R value for this customer. So stay tuned for this. But yeah, customer spent like 14 grand on this whole shingle roof. Well, just doing this rubber part the right way and having to tear it up and fix a bunch of other crap, it's costing about 10 grand. So this is why you hire one-way exteriors the first time rather than the cheap guy and then have to come back and hire us a second time. We're on just like the better side of the roof here, and I just ripped back with the skill saw about a foot and wanted to see what we were dealing with. You can see all these rafter tails are soaked, fascia board soaked. There's nails, but they were holding nothing because the wood was so rotted. I literally just lifted it like it wasn't nailed down at all. Prime example of water just penetrating the spot for a very, very long time. Another thing I notice here that we're gonna have to address now, this is just a solid board here, and from the underneath there's vented soffit there, but it's actually not vented because there's just solid wood. So there's no ventilation coming through, so now we gotta handle that situation. We gotta get solid venting all the way up and through. So we're gonna come up into here and we'll start building out what this is gonna look like here when we start furring it up and putting insulation board down. You guys will really start to see this thing come to life, and maybe it'll make sense what we're doing now. Oh, check this out. This is why how you build your overhangs actually matters. Watch my feet here. All right, this is literally the whole overhang shifting. It's not just the sheeting, but you can see it all the way down. You come up here, same situation. Look at this. The whole overhang wants to fall off of this house because all they did was they put a fascia board out there and spanned the decking. That's it. There's no ladder system. There's no actual structural support. They put a board here, or your last truss, your rafter, or whatever this was built with, floated the sheeting out over it, cut it off, nail the fascia board to it. That's it. It's literally 1/2 inch sheeting holding this whole overhang. The soffit should not be coming out this easy. It's very rarely nailed on the back side, but this wasn't even nailed on the front side. I got all sorts of nice paint, but we're just gonna save all this, try and save the customer a little bit of coin. Not part of the contract. This is just one-way exteriors doing what's right, because these are great customers and we want to take care of them. And they're super, super grateful, and they spent a lot of money making sure that this was all done right. That's pretty pathetic. Either this was built poorly or I'm getting really fat. Yeah, we're styling. I mean, it's jam-packed full of insulation, which means no ventilation anyways. See, I want to save this because it'd be really, really hard to find this exact soffit to match, because this is old school, like it's bigger than 444, so it's like a double 5, double 6, something like that. So hard to track this stuff down. So right here, you see all this insulation. A lot of people think, oh, that's great, it's full of insulation. That's very bad, actually, because what happens, even if none of this wood was here and we had proper venting in the soffit, it'd have nowhere to go. You can't get anything through that. So there's no actual roof ventilation, and that'll boil your shingles really, really, really quick. also makes ice dams because the heat travels up through the insulation, hits here. Now it's heating the snow on the roof deck, which turns to ice, comes out over the overhang, and that's cold again, and it freezes, and that's how you get big ice dams, all right? The best part about roofing is pulling nails out of your boots. So what we're dealing with here, you can see a few of these rafters. This one's not as bad, but this one are pretty bad. So rather than replacing all the rafter tails, that can get pretty time consuming and whatever else, we're just gonna cut them back. Customer does not need an 18-inch overhang here. I'll put gutters on if they're really worried about water coming over or something. But so what we're gonna do, I just came here and I measured, and if I cut off like a foot of this, and I'll leave them with about a, just like 6 to 8 inch overhang there, we're gonna be out of all the rot. So we're gonna snap a chalk line here, cut all these plumb, take 10 inches off so we have solid wood there, get rid of all this nasty wood rot, and have a good substrate to attach a sub fascia to. And then we'll just have to cut all that soffit we just took off, cut it down. We can still reuse it, it's just gonna be cut a little bit shorter. So pin that back up, put new fascia, aluminum fascia on over the sub fascia, and we are styling. So what we got here, we're building up the cold roof system. So we cut off the overhang, you saw all that happen. We're gonna leave this open for air gap. So as the soffit vents, it comes up, and it's gonna run through here. We're gonna put sheeting back over top of this. It'll be an air vent, all right? That will help prevent this roof from building ice because it's gonna keep it cold right here. So it's called the cold roof system. So cold air is constantly blowing through here, so as heat escapes, it gets combated by the cold air and minimizes how much ice is building on this roof. Right now, we're just kind of building this out. We gotta put a little shim here because apparently this is either swelled up or a little bit thicker than ½ inch. I didn't measure like a silly guy. So just assumed ½ inch would be ½ inch, but looks like we gotta shim it up just a little bit. So we'll make that happen. So this is rock solid and can't do this rocky docky game, but then we're gonna put new sub fascia on, put all the soffit, aluminum fascia on. We're gonna be putting 1-inch foam board in here as well, just to help keep and combat the heat from penetrating and the cold from penetrating. So there'll be about a ½ inch air gap through there, and that'll significantly reduce the ice on this roof. Something I'm a real stickler on is keeping our job sites clean. You can see we're, whatever, halfway done with this, and we just did a cleanup. I don't think it's fair for a customer to ever show up to their home and have it be an absolute mess, right? So we just did a little cleanup. We're waiting on some product to show up, so why not keep the place spick and span, no nails on the ground, pulling magnets, all that fun stuff. Let's keep it clean so the dogs and everything else can go outside and do what they're supposed to be doing. All right, so you're starting to see the cold roof system come together. All right, we got 1-inch foam board. Now this will provide I think this one is R6 on this 1-inch board, but it's reflective as well. So it's gonna reflect the heat in the summer and reflect the cool in the winter time. But it's gonna leave a ½ inch air gap all the way up. And you can see this one's a little bit tight fit in there, but that's okay. It will provide enough airflow to knock out any heat loss that's coming. It's also gonna help keep the heat in. We looked earlier how the rafters were stuffed full of insulation. So this is gonna be added insulation on top of that with a nice air gap. Sheeting will come down over top of this. You can see that the guys are rocking and rolling on their ends here. This is a little bit abnormal of a job. All these are spaced a little bit differently because we wanted to run them on the existing rafters. And whoever built this decided they just wanted to put rafters wherever they felt like, rather than 16 or 18 or 24 on centers, anything like that. So that's it. We got all these down. These are all nailed in place into the rafters with 3½ inch ring shank nails. Now we come through, we put the insulation board down. We put a few cap nails in it just to hold it down. You don't want that stuff floating always and stopping the airflow. So we put a few cap nails in it to hold it down. Then we'll sheet over top of this. Then we're ready to lay our rubber roofing over it. Here we go. Prime example. This is what it looked like after I cut it. This is all just 1x on your roof. And if you don't actually replace what is necessary for us, we actually won't even install on this on our mid or premium grade roofs. This is only on like our budget roof, if you will, that we'll even put this down. You gotta sign a waiver and all that stuff that you void the wind warranty. But there was a bunch of nails just in this gap right through here, and you can see there's one right there. But nails hit these gaps like clockwork. You consistently run into this type of crap. So as I'm cutting this out, my line ended up being right on a 1x line, so it worked out pretty darn well for us. But you can see this stuff was not really held in there very well anyways. So, and it's all junk and falling apart. There we go. But now we have an air gap, so air will travel between the foam and our new sheeting, go back in here and out the ridge vent like it's supposed to. All right, so we got all of the insulation down. We had to rip up a couple more layers of shingles. And basically what's gonna happen, see if I can not move this. Here we go. This OSB is coming and it's gonna run just right about to there, wherever it terminates, Nick. But what we've discovered is that this little addition is a little bit crooked. So we get to play some games with that, but won't be the end of the world. Nothing we can't handle. Gonna sheet this thing up and then we get to lay the rubber down. Rock and roll, baby. So we're here on this finished cold flat roof that we built out. This is all a one-piece rubber. And so you can see a couple like imperfections like right here. You'll get that when you're trying to take a piece of 10-foot wide by 30-foot long piece of rubber. There's only so much that you can lay at one time. It's heavy. This stuff is really, really, really heavy. So a couple imperfections, but it's one piece. This thing is sealed up tight. Again, we tore this off. We built it up 1.5 inches, put 1-inch foam between the 2x, put new sheeting on it, and then glued down this rubber. Put some 6-inch gutter on it because we ended up cutting back the overhang a little bit on this. It used to stick out about yay far, so we cut off all the rot, cut up the soffit, put new 6-inch gutter on, got all the water away to protect their deck. This is the process, all right? So now this cold roof actually vents from the eaves up, out, and comes all the way up to here, where it's actually cut out into the main roof, where it can then vent right out the ridge vent. That's what a cold roof system will do on your house. This will radically reduce how much ice buildup happens on this low slope. And so the less ice on this low slope, the less weight on your roof, the less ice backup, all of that fun stuff. All right, and now we've got one piece of solid rubber. They're never gonna have another leak here again. For the first time in 10 years that they've owned the house, we had a rainstorm after we did this, and they said, holy cow, Colin, it is dry. It's the first time we've ever not had water in our living room. Thank you so much. So this is what happens when you do things the one way. We do it right every single time.